Ambassador Sarah Chun walked through the long hallway of the Galactic Council building. Her shoes made soft clicking sounds on the smooth floor. The walls were made of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Around her, aliens of many different shapes and sizes moved past. Some had 4 arms, others had skin like scales, and a few floated in the air instead of walking. Sarah kept her face calm and friendly. She had practiced this look many times in the mirror. Inside, she felt angry. But she could not show it. Not here. Not now. The meeting room was huge. It could hold 1,000 beings easily. Sarah took her seat at the small table, marked Human Territory. The sign was written in basic galactic script. Even a child could read it. The table was much smaller than the others around it. To her left sat Ambassador Crix of the Vorthan Empire. His people looked like giant insects with blue shells. Crix never looked at Sarah directly. He acted like she was not important enough to notice. "The human speaks now," announced the council speaker. The speaker was a tall, thin being with silver skin and 3 eyes. "You may present your trade request." Sarah stood up. She held a small device that would translate her words into all the galactic languages. "Honored Council," she began, "humanity asks for better trade routes to the Kepler sector. Our people need access to the rare metals found there." Crix made a sound like a laugh. "The humans want more than they deserve," he said. His voice was like metal scraping against stone. "They have been in space for only 100 years. My people have traveled the stars for 10,000 years. Why should babies get the same treatment as adults?" Other ambassadors nodded. Sarah heard whispers from around the room. She caught words like primitive and weak and children. The council speaker raised one long arm. "The Vorthan speaks truth. Humans are new to our community. You must earn better treatment through time and proof of your worth." Sarah bowed her head. "We understand, honored speaker. Humanity is grateful for any opportunity to learn and grow." "Good," the speaker said. "You may have access to the outer edges of the Kepler sector. Mining rights will cost you twice the standard rate. This is our final offer." Sarah wanted to argue. The price was unfair. It would bankrupt human colonies. But she just smiled and nodded. "Thank you for your kindness." The meeting continued for 2 more hours. Every request humanity made was either denied or given with terrible conditions. Sarah listened to it all with a patient smile. She agreed to everything. She thanked them for scraps they would never give to any other species. When the meeting ended, Sarah walked out slowly. She did not show her anger or frustration. Several alien ambassadors passed her without a word. To them, she was just another human who knew her place. Outside the building, Sarah got into her transport ship. It was small and basic compared to the huge vessels of other species. The pilot was Captain James Rodriguez, a man with gray hair and kind eyes. "How did it go?" James asked as they lifted off. "Same as always," Sarah said. She finally let her mask drop. "They think we are insects." "Less than insects." "Good," James said with a smile. "Let them think that." As they flew through space, Sarah looked out the window. In the distance, she could see the massive space stations of the Galactic Council. Ships from 100 different worlds docked there every day. The stations were beautiful, covered in lights and made of materials that sparkled like jewels. "Any word from home?" Sarah asked. James touched a button on the control panel. A hologram appeared showing a message from Earth. The sender was Admiral Patricia Hayes, head of the human space fleet. "Package delivered," the message said. "Project Dark Ocean is now complete. Waiting for your signal." Sarah smiled for the first time that day. "Send the reply. Tell them to wait for my order." "Yes, ma'am," James said. Their ship flew past a hegemony war fleet. The hegemony was the most feared military force in the galaxy. Their ships were the size of cities, covered in weapons that could destroy planets. The hegemony had conquered 50 star systems in the last century. No one dared to fight. Sarah watched the hegemony ships with interest. They have no idea what is coming, she said quietly. None of them do, James agreed. 3 days later, Sarah was in her office on the human space station near Earth. The station was small and simple compared to alien technology. It had basic life support, simple weapons, and old-style computers. At least that is what everyone thought. Sarah was reading reports when her assistant rushed in. "Ma'am, urgent message from the council." Sarah took the message and read it quickly. Her face went pale. "They are attacking the Kepler sector. The hegemony is moving against the peaceful colonies there. What about us?" Her assistant asked. Sarah. "Read more. The council has decided not to defend human space. They say it would be too costly. They suggest we negotiate surrender terms with the hegemony." Her assistant looked shocked. "They are abandoning us?" "Yes," Sarah said. "They think we are too weak to matter. They would rather have peace with the hegemony than fight for human lives." Sarah walked to her window. Outside, she could see Earth in the distance. The blue and green planet looked peaceful and small. Most of the galaxy thought it was weak too. "Send a message to Admiral Hayes," Sarah said. "Tell her the galaxy is about to see what humans can really do." "Should I use the regular channels?" her assistant asked. "No," Sarah said with a cold smile. "Use the dark channels. It is time to stop pretending." Across the galaxy, hegemony fleets moved toward human space. Their commanders were confident. They had studied human technology and found it basic. Human ships were slow and carried weak weapons. Human colonies had small populations and little military defense. The hegemony expected to finish the war in a few days. They planned to take human worlds and sell the survivors as slaves. It would be an easy victory. In the galactic news, reporters talked about the coming battle. Most felt sorry for humanity. A few suggested that humans should have stayed on their home planet. They were not ready for the dangers of space. None of them knew the truth. For 60 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment. They had built weapons and ships that existed in the space between spaces. They had learned to use the dark matter that filled the universe, but could not be seen. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not the weak children they pretended to be. They were hunters who had been waiting for the perfect moment to reveal their true nature. Sarah looked out at the stars and smiled. Soon, everything would change. Admiral Marcus Kane stood on the bridge of the hegemony flagship destroyer of worlds. The ship was massive, stretching for miles in every direction. Its weapons could turn planets into dust. Kane had used those weapons many times before. Around him, his officers worked at their stations. Their skin was gray and rough like stone. Their eyes were black and cold. The hegemony had no mercy for those who stood in their way. "Report," Kane ordered. "Sir, we are 3 hours from the first human." "System," said his weapons officer. "Our scouts show weak defenses, a few small ships and basic shield generators." Kane smiled. His teeth were sharp like a shark's. "As expected, these humans are like children playing with toys." On the main screen, Kane could see the human colony of New Eden. It was a small world with cities that looked peaceful and quiet. A few human ships moved around the planet. They were tiny compared to Kane's fleet. "Sir, we have 40 warships in our attack group," another officer reported. "Each ship carries enough firepower to destroy a moon. The humans have only 12 defending vessels." 12? Kane laughed. "I could defeat them with one ship. This will be over before lunch." Kane had fought hundreds of battles across the galaxy. He had destroyed civilizations that had existed for thousands of years. Humans had been in space for only a century. They would fall like leaves in a storm. "Begin the attack," Kane ordered. "Show these humans what happens when they refuse to." "Surrender." The hegemony fleet moved forward. Their ships were dark and covered in spikes. They looked like metal beasts ready to devour their prey. Energy shields glowed around each vessel. Weapon systems charged with deadly power. The human ships moved to meet them. They were small and white, with smooth curves instead of spikes. They looked fragile compared to the hegemony war machines. Human ships are moving into attack position, the sensor officer reported. They appear to be... Sir, this is strange. What is strange? Kane demanded. The human ships are not powering their weapons. Their shields are offline. Sir, they are just sitting there. Kane frowned. Are they surrendering? No, sir. They are not sending any surrender signals. They are just waiting. Kane stared at the screen. The human ships hung in space like sleeping birds. It made no sense. Why would they not fight or run? Maybe they are broken, suggested the weapons officer. Human technology is very basic. Their ships probably stopped working. Kane nodded. That must be it. These humans built ships they cannot even control properly. Fire when ready. End this quickly. The weapons officer reached for the firing controls. But before he could press the button, something impossible happened. Space itself began to change. At first, Kane thought his eyes were playing tricks. The area around the human ship seemed to ripple like water. Then the ripples grew stronger. Reality itself appeared to bend and twist. What is happening? Kane shouted. Report! Sir, our sensors are detecting massive energy readings, the sensor officer said. His voice was shaking. But the readings are coming from empty space. There is nothing there. That is impossible. Sir, the space around the human ships is. Sir, I cannot explain what I am seeing. Kane watched in horror as the empty space between the human ships began to solidify. Dark shapes emerged from nothing. They were not ships as he knew them. They were something else entirely. The vessels that appeared looked like they were made from the darkness between stars. Their hulls absorbed light instead of reflecting it. They had no visible engines, no weapon ports, no shield generators. They simply existed, floating in space like solid shadows. How many ships? Kane whispered. Sir, I count 50. 100. Sir, they keep appearing. I count over 200 vessels now, and more are still materializing. Kane's blood turned cold. 200 ships. Each one larger than his. Flagship. They had appeared from nowhere, invisible to every sensor known to science. Sir, incoming message from the lead human vessel, the communications officer announced. Put it on screen, Kane ordered. The face that appeared was human, but there was something different about it. The woman had steel-gray hair and eyes like ice. She wore a uniform that Kane had never seen before. It was black with silver symbols that seemed to move in the light. I am Admiral Patricia Hayes of the Human Dark Matter Fleet, the woman said. Her voice was calm but filled with power. You have 60 seconds to withdraw from human space or face the consequences. Kane found his voice. You are outnumbered. I have 40 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy. Admiral Hayes smiled. It was not a kind smile. You have 40 ships that exist in normal space. I have 300 ships that exist wherever we choose to exist. Your weapons cannot hit what they cannot detect. Your shields cannot stop what passes through them like air. Impossible, Kane shouted. Number. Species has such technology. Humanity does, Hayes replied. We have been studying dark matter for 80 years. We learned to build ships from the substance that makes up most of the universe. Ships that your primitive sensors cannot see. Kane looked at his officers. They all stared at the screen in terror. These were warriors who had conquered worlds. But now they looked like frightened children. 30 seconds, Admiral Hayes announced. Double quote, sir. What are your orders? The weapons officer asked. Kane's mind raced. He could attack, but how do you fight an enemy you cannot see until they want you to? His ships were powerful, but they were designed to fight conventional enemies. These dark matter vessels were something beyond his understanding. "Sir, new contacts." Appearing, the sensor officer suddenly screamed. "They are all around us, hundreds of them." Kane spun around to look at the tactical display. The screen showed hegemony ships surrounded by dark contacts that had not been there moments before. The human fleet had moved into position without being detected. "Time is up," Admiral Hayes said. The first human ship moved like a ghost through space. It passed directly through a hegemony vessel's shields as if they were not there. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the hegemony ship exploded from the inside. "They went through our shields," someone screamed. "How did they go through our shields?" More human ships moved. They phased in and out of normal space, striking from impossible angles. Hegemony vessels tried to return fire, but their weapons passed harmlessly through targets that existed in a different dimension. Within minutes, half of Kane's fleet was destroyed. The human ships moved like predators, striking without warning and disappearing before return fire could reach them. "All ships retreat," Kane ordered. "Full speed retreat." The surviving hegemony vessels turned and ran. Behind them, the human dark matter fleet watched them go. The ships that had seemed so powerful minutes before now fled like scared animals. Kane collapsed into his command chair. In 40 years of warfare, he had never seen anything like this. Humanity had not just hidden advanced technology. They had mastered forces that should not be possible to control. As his ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, Kane realized that everything had changed. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity was not the weak species everyone thought they were. They were something far more dangerous. They were the species that had learned to weaponize the darkness itself. General Vex sat in his command bunker deep inside the hegemony home world. The walls were thick metal covered with screens showing battle reports from across the galaxy. For the first time in 50 years, those reports brought bad news. "General, we have lost contact with the Third Fleet," his aide reported. The aide was young and had never seen defeat before. His hands shook as he read from his tablet. "How many ships?" Vex asked. His voice was calm, but inside he felt ice forming in his chest. "All of them, sir. 47 vessels. Gone in less than 2 hours." Vex had been a soldier for 80 years. He had conquered more worlds than he could count. The hegemony military had never lost a major battle during his lifetime. Now they were losing entire fleets to an enemy they had thought was weak. "Show me the battle recordings," Vex ordered. The main screen lit up with footage from the battle. Vex watched as human ships appeared from nowhere, like ghosts becoming solid. He saw hegemony vessels explode without warning. Most disturbing of all, he watched human ships pass through solid matter as if it was air. "How is this possible?" Vex whispered. His science advisor stepped forward. Dr. Kelm was the smartest being Vex knew. If anyone could explain this, it would be him. "General, our analysis shows the humans have developed technology we did not know was possible," Dr. Kelm said. "They appear to be using dark matter as a building material." "Explain it in simple words," Vex demanded. "Dark matter makes up most of the universe, but we cannot see it or touch it normally. Somehow, humans have learned to make it solid when they want to. Their ships exist in both normal space and dark matter space at the same time." Vex stared at the screen. "What does that mean for us?" "It means they can hide entire fleets where we cannot detect them. It means they can pass through our shields and armor. It means they can attack us from directions that should not exist." Another aide rushed into the room. "General, urgent report from Admiral Kane. The humans are attacking the 7th Fleet at Proxima Station." "Put Kane on the screen," Vex ordered. Admiral Kane's face appeared. He looked older than when Vex had seen him last week. His eyes were filled with fear and confusion. "General, we need help," Kane said. "The human fleet is destroying us. Our weapons cannot hit them. Our shields are useless. How many human ships? Vex asked. We count 300, but more keep appearing. They attack from inside our formations. Our own ships are hitting each other, trying to target enemies that phase in and out of reality. Behind Kane, explosions lit up the bridge. Sparks flew from broken equipment. The ship shook like it was being torn apart. Sir, they are boarding us, someone screamed off camera. Boarding? Vex frowned. How can they board your ship? They phase their troops through our hull, Kane replied. Our security doors mean nothing to them. They appear inside our most protected areas. The screen went dark. Kane's flagship had been destroyed. Vex turned to his officers. Every face showed the same expression, fear mixed with disbelief. These were the same officers who had laughed when humans first appeared in galactic space. Now they feared them more than any enemy they had ever faced. Options? Vex asked. We could retreat all our fleets back to defended positions, suggested. His tactical officer. What positions? Dr. Kell asked. If humans can phase through solid matter, no position is defended. They could appear inside this bunker right now if they wanted to. As if summoned by his words, the air in the center of the room began to shimmer. Vex and his officers stepped back in terror. A shape formed from nothing, a tall human woman in a black uniform. Every weapon in the room pointed at her. She ignored them completely. I am Captain Lisa Morgan of the U.E. Shadow Walker, she said. Her voice was calm and confident. I have a message from Admiral Hayes. Kill her. Vex shouted. 20 officers fired their weapons at once. Energy beams and projectiles passed through the human woman like she was made of air. She did not even blink. Your weapons cannot harm me, Captain Morgan said. I am existing in a different phase of reality. I am here, but I am also not here. Vex's mouth fell open. What do you want? Surrender, Captain Morgan replied. Stop your attacks on peaceful worlds. Withdraw your fleets from contested space. Accept human terms for peace. Never, Vex snarled. The hegemony does not surrender to anyone. Captain Morgan smiled sadly. I was hoping you would say that. Admiral Hayes wanted to give you one chance. You have refused it. She touched something on her wrist. All units, begin Phase 2. Show them what happens when they refuse mercy. The human captain began to fade away like smoke. General Vex, you have 1 hour to watch your fleet die. Then, we will discuss surrender again. She vanished completely. Vex stared at the empty space where she had been. Around him, his officers looked like they had seen a ghost. In a way, they had. Sir, his communications officer said with a shaking voice, reports coming in from all sectors. Human fleets are attacking everywhere at once. The main screen showed a map of hegemony space. Red dots appeared across hundreds of star systems. Each dot represented a human attack. There were so many dots that the map looked like it had a disease. How many ships do they have? Vex whispered. Unknown, sir. They could have 10,000 or 10 million. We cannot count ships that exist in dark matter space. Reports flooded in over the next hour. The hegemony's most powerful fleets were being destroyed with shocking ease. Ships that had conquered galaxies were torn apart by enemies they could not see or touch. The humans fought like demons from another dimension. They appeared inside enemy vessels and tore them apart from within. They fired weapons that bent space and time. They created gravity wells that crushed ships like paper. Most terrifying of all, they showed perfect coordination across impossible distances. Human fleets separated by thousands of light years moved as one mind. They shared information instantly and struck with precision that should not be possible. Sir, the Second Fleet is requesting permission to surrender, an aide reported. Denied, Vex shouted. Sir, the Fourth Fleet has been completely destroyed. The Ninth Fleet is down to 3 ships. The Home Guard is reporting human ships appearing. Inside our planetary defenses, Vex watched his life's work crumble. The hegemony had taken 300 years to build their empire. Humans were destroying it in a single day. "Sir," Dr. Keln said quietly, "we need to face reality. We are fighting beings who have mastered forces we barely understand. This is not a war. This is an execution." The hour passed quickly. At exactly 60 minutes, Captain Morgan reappeared in the bunker. This time, she was not alone. 12 human soldiers stood with her, all existing in the same ghostly phase. "Your fleet is gone, General," she announced. 80% destroyed. 20% surrendered. Your empire is finished." Vex looked at the tactical display. It confirmed her words. Red dots covered the map where hegemony fleets had once ruled. Now they were graveyards floating in space. "What are your terms?" Vex asked. "Complete surrender. Your government will be dissolved. Your military will be disbanded. Your conquered worlds will be freed. You will face trial for your crimes against peaceful species." Vex closed his eyes. The hegemony had ruled through fear and strength. Now they had met something stronger. "I surrender," he said. Captain Morgan nodded. "A wise choice, General. Humanity does not enjoy war, but we are very good at it when we must be." As she and her soldiers faded away, Vex realized the galaxy had changed forever. Humans were no longer the weak species everyone had ignored. They were the new power that would reshape everything, and they had done it all in a single day. Emperor Zalf of the Crystalline Empire sat in his throne room made entirely of living crystal. The walls pulsed with soft light that changed colors with his emotions. Right now, those colors were dark red and black, the colors of fear and confusion. Zalf was 3,000 years old. His empire had existed for 50,000 years. In all that time, they had never seen anything like what humans had done to the hegemony. "My lord," his advisor said as she entered the throne room, "the reports from the hegemony space are confirmed. Humans destroyed their entire fleet in 18 hours. Zalf's crystal body shimmered with worry. 18 hours? The hegemony had 10,000 warships spread across hundreds of worlds. "Yes, my lord, and humans destroyed them all. The hegemony government has surrendered completely." Zalf had watched the recordings a dozen times. Human ships appearing from empty space. Weapons that ignored shields and armor. Soldiers who walked through solid walls like they were made of air. It defied everything his people knew about science and war. "Have our scientists found any explanation?" Zalf asked. "They say humans have learned to control dark matter itself. Our greatest minds call it impossible, but the evidence is clear." Zalf stood up from his throne. He was tall and thin, made of living crystal that reflected light in beautiful patterns. But today, he felt very small and fragile. "Send a message to the human ambassador," he ordered. "Tell her we wish to discuss mutual cooperation." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening on every major world. Species that had ruled space for millions of years suddenly found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew. On the homeworld of the Vorthan Empire, Ambassador Crix sat in his council chamber. The same Crix who had mocked humans at the Galactic Council just days ago. Now his hands shook as he read intelligence reports. "Counselors," Crix said to the assembled leaders, "we have a problem. Humans are not what we thought they were." "They are a young species," said Counselor Vix. "They have barely learned to fly between stars." "A young species does not destroy the hegemony in one day," Crix replied. "A young species does not have technology we cannot detect or understand." He activated a holographic display showing human ships. The vessels looked like they were made from solid darkness. They absorbed light instead of reflecting it. They moved through space in ways that violated physics. "How long have they had this technology?" asked another counselor. "Unknown. Humans have been in galactic space for 100 years. They could have been hiding these capabilities the entire time. The room fell silent. If humans had been lying about their abilities for a century, what else were they hiding? How many other species might have secret technologies that nobody knew about? On the ancient world of the ethereal collective, beings of pure energy gathered to discuss the crisis. They had existed since the galaxy was young. They considered themselves the wisest and most advanced of all species. Today, they felt like children who had discovered they knew nothing. "The humans have surpassed us," whispered Elder Luma. Her energy form flickered with uncertainty. "They wield forces we have studied for eons, but never mastered. How is it possible?" asked Elder Korath. "We have existed for 10 million years. They have existed for less than 1,000,000. How did they advance so far, so fast?" "Perhaps," said Elder Vash quietly, "we made the mistake of thinking age equals wisdom. Perhaps young minds see possibilities that old minds have forgotten." Back on Earth, Ambassador Sarah Chun stood in the Human Command Center. Screens around her showed the entire galaxy. Every major species was sending diplomatic messages. Every message had the same theme: fear mixed with desperate attempts at friendship. "Sarah," Admiral Hayes said as she joined her, "we have received over 300 diplomatic requests in the past 6 hours. From species who would not even speak to us yesterday." Sarah replied with a bitter smile. "The Crystalline Empire wants to sign a defense treaty. The Vorthan Empire is offering trade agreements with no restrictions. The Azure Federation wants to share technology." Sarah looked at the list of messages. Species that had treated humans like annoying children now begged for their attention and protection. "What about the ancient civilizations?" Sarah asked. "Even they are reaching out. The ethereal collective wants to exchange philosophical knowledge. The machine consciousness is requesting technical consultations. The Void Walkers have broken their isolation for the first time in 1,000,000 years just to contact us." Sarah shook her head in amazement. The Void Walkers were legendary. They were so advanced that other species worshipped them like gods. Now even they wanted to talk to humanity. "Admiral, how are our people handling this?" Sarah asked. "Better than expected. Our scientists are excited to finally share their real work. Our diplomats are enjoying not having to pretend we are weak anymore." On the screens around them, Sarah could see human dark matter ships patrolling space. They moved like sharks through an ocean, invisible until they chose to be seen. Each ship was a reminder that the galaxy had changed forever. "Sarah," Admiral Hayes said, "we have a decision to make. How do we use this power? The entire galaxy is watching us now." Before Sarah could answer, an aide rushed in. "Ma'am, urgent message from the Galactic Council. They are calling an emergency session." Sarah and Admiral Hayes exchanged looks. The same Galactic Council that had abandoned humanity to the hegemony now wanted to meet urgently. "Let me guess," Sarah said. "They want to discuss humanity's new status in galactic affairs." "Actually, ma'am, they want to offer humanity a permanent seat on the ruling council. Full voting rights. Equal status with the founding species." Sarah laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Yesterday, we were children not worthy of respect. Today, we are equals deserving of leadership roles. How quickly opinions change when fear enters the equation." Admiral Hayes placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder. "What do you want to tell them?" Sarah thought for a long moment. Outside, she could see the lights of Earth's cities. Billions of humans lived there, most of them still unaware that their species had just become the most powerful force in the galaxy. "Tell them we will attend their meeting," Sarah said finally. "But this time we go as equals, not as supplicants. This time, they listen to what we have to say." "And what do we have to say?" Admiral Hayes asked. "That the age of empires built on conquest and fear is over. That the galaxy belongs to all species, not just the strongest. That humanity will use its power to protect, not to conquer. Across the galaxy, the message was spreading. Humanity had revealed themselves to be far more than anyone had imagined. They possessed technology that seemed like magic. They had defeated the most feared military force in known space without breaking a sweat. But more importantly, they had done something no other powerful species had ever done. They had won a war and immediately offered peace. They had gained the ability to rule the galaxy and chosen to share it instead. The old order was crumbling. Ancient empires that had ruled through force were discovering that a new kind of power had emerged. Not the power of conquest, but the power of protection. Not the power of fear, but the power of hope. On thousands of worlds, beings looked up at the stars and wondered what would happen next. The galaxy had awakened to a new reality. Humanity was no longer the weak species hiding in the corners of space. They were the guardians of a new age, and everything was about to change. 6 months had passed since the hegemony fell. Ambassador Sarah Chun walked through the same crystal hallway of the Galactic Council building. But everything was different now. Aliens who once ignored her now stepped aside respectfully. Some even bowed as she passed. The meeting room looked the same, but the seating had changed completely. Where humans once sat at a small table in the corner, now there was a large platform at the center of the room. The sign read, Human Confederation, Founding Council Member, in letters that glowed with soft light. Sarah took her seat and looked around. Every ambassador in the room watched her carefully. These were the same beings who had once treated her like a child. Now they hung on her every word. The council speaker called the meeting to order. The tall silver being with 3 eyes looked nervous as he spoke. We gather today to discuss the new Galactic Protection Treaty proposed by humanity. Sarah stood up. She no longer needed a translation device. Every species had learned human languages in the past months. It was considered essential for survival. In the new galaxy, honored colleagues, Sarah began, humanity offers this treaty to ensure peace and freedom for all species. We propose to use our dark matter fleet not for conquest, but for protection. Ambassador Crix of the Vorthan Empire raised one of his 4 arms. The same Crix who had mocked humans 6 months ago now spoke with deep respect. Ambassador Chen, the Vorthan Empire accepts this treaty gratefully. We pledge our support to the new galactic order. Similar words came from around the room. The Crystalline Empire offered their crystal technology for human ships. The Azure Federation volunteered their best scientists to work with human researchers. Even the ancient ethereal collective promised to share their wisdom with humanity. Sarah listened to it all with mixed feelings. It was good that peace was spreading across the galaxy. But she knew this cooperation came from fear, not friendship. Fear of what humanity could do if they chose to. After the meeting, Sarah walked to the observation deck. Through the transparent wall, she could see space filled with ships from hundreds of worlds. But scattered among them, invisible to most, sensors were the dark matter vessels of humanity. Admiral Hayes joined her at the window. How do you feel about our new role? She asked. Responsible, Sarah replied. 6 months ago, nobody cared what humans thought. Now our decisions affect trillions of beings across the galaxy. The burden of power, Hayes nodded. Are you ready for the next phase? Sarah knew what she meant. In the distance, construction ships were building something massive. It looked like a space station, but it was made from dark matter technology. When complete, it would be the new Galactic Council headquarters, protected by forces that no enemy could touch. The Sanctuary project is ahead of schedule, Hayes reported. Once finished, any species threatened by war or conquest can come there for protection. Our dark matter shields will make it completely safe, Sarah smiled. The Sanctuary was humanity's gift to the galaxy. A place where weak species could find shelter from stronger ones. A place where diplomacy could happen without fear of violence. What about the former hegemony worlds? Sarah asked, all freed. We helped them set up new governments. Most have asked to join our protection alliance. They remember what freedom feels like. On the screens around them, Sarah could see reports from across the galaxy. Human dark matter ships were everywhere now, but they were not conquering. They were exploring, protecting, and helping. In the Kepler sector, human ships had stopped. A war between two species fighting over resources. Instead of letting them destroy each other, humans had helped them find a peaceful solution. In the Outer Rim, human vessels were protecting trade routes from pirates. Merchant ships that had once traveled in fear now moved freely under the protection of invisible guardians. In the core worlds, human scientists were sharing dark matter technology with species that promised to use it for peaceful purposes only. The galaxy was advancing faster than ever before. Sarah, Hayes said, we have a visitor. The door opened and a small figure entered. It was a child from the Kepler colonies, one of the world's humans had saved from the hegemony. The little girl had blue skin and large golden eyes. Ambassador Chun, the child said in carefully practiced human speech, I wanted to thank you. Sarah knelt down to the child's level. What for, little one? My mommy says humans saved us from the bad ships. She says humans are the good guardians now. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. This was why they had revealed their power, not for glory or conquest, but for moments like this. We will always protect you, Sarah promised. That is what guardians do. After the child left, Sarah and Hayes returned to watching the stars. In the distance, they could see a human dark matter ship phasing into normal space. It had returned from a patrol mission in the outer galaxy. Admiral, Sarah asked, do you think we made the right choice? Revealing ourselves when we did? Hayes was quiet for a moment. Sarah, for 60 years we built weapons in secret. We prepared for war while pretending to be weak. But when the moment came, we chose to be protectors instead of conquerors. Yes, I think we made the right choice. A communication came in from Earth. President Martinez appeared on the screen, calling from the Oval Office in New Geneva. Sarah, Admiral Hayes, the president said, I have news. The Void Walkers have agreed to meet with us. They want to discuss sharing their dimensional technology with humanity. Sarah's eyes widened. The Void Walkers were the most mysterious species in the galaxy. They existed partially outside normal reality and had never shared their secrets with anyone. Why now? Sarah asked. They say humanity has proven we can be trusted with ultimate power. They want to help us become even better guardians. After the call ended, Sarah looked out at the stars with new understanding. Humanity had not just gained power in the galaxy. They had gained respect, trust, and hope. Ships from 1,000 worlds moved through space under the protection of human dark matter vessels. Trade flowed freely between species that had once been enemies. Scientific discoveries were shared instead of hoarded. Art and culture spread from world to world without fear. The galaxy is healing, Hayes observed. Yes, Sarah agreed, and we helped make it possible. In the months that followed, the transformation continued. The new Galactic Council became a place of genuine cooperation instead of political games. The Sanctuary Project welcomed refugees from conflicts across the galaxy. Human dark matter technology was carefully shared with species that used it to explore new frontiers instead of building weapons. Most importantly, the age of conquest was ending. Young species no longer had to fear being destroyed by older, stronger civilizations. They could grow and develop under the protection of humanity's invisible fleet. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. True strength was not about having the biggest weapons or the most ships. True strength was about using power to protect those who could not protect themselves. Humanity had hidden their capabilities for decades, letting others think they were weak. But when the moment came to reveal themselves, they chose to be saviors instead of destroyers. They chose to build a better galaxy instead of ruling it through fear. As Sarah watched the stars, she knew that the universe would never be the same. Humanity had unveiled their dark matter fleet, and in doing so, they had unveiled something even more powerful, the idea that strength should serve others, not dominate them. The new age had begun, and it belonged to everyone.